What would you give up for someone you love? Would you sacrifice your dignity, your pride, your last shred of hope? A 10-year-old boy stood on a cold sidewalk and answered that question in a way that would change everything. This is his story. Picture yourself walking down Fifth Avenue on a December afternoon, the kind of day where the wind cuts through your coat and everyone's in a hurry to get somewhere warm. You pass hundreds of faces, strangers, people you'll never see again. But what if one of those faces was about to reshape your entire understanding of humanity? What if one moment of connection could tear down every wall you'd ever built? Michael Harrison had built plenty of walls. As CEO of Harrison Technologies, a company worth $3.7 billion, he'd learned to keep his distance, to stay focused, to never let emotion cloud judgment. But on that December day, something happened that no boardroom strategy could have prepared him for, something that would force him to confront a truth he'd been running from for 6 years. Before we go any deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 6 years earlier, Michael Harrison had everything. A beautiful wife named Catherine, a thriving company, and a daughter, Emma, who had just turned 4. Emma was his world. She had her mother's green eyes and a laugh that could light up any room. Michael would rush home from meetings just to read her bedtime stories. He'd carry her on his shoulders through Central Park, listening to her talk about butterflies and clouds and all the magical things that only children seem to notice. Life wasn't just good, it was perfect. Then came the accident. A rainy evening in October. Catherine was driving home with Emma in the back seat. A truck ran a red light. The impact was instantaneous. Catherine died before the ambulance arrived. Emma survived, but the brain injury changed everything. At 4 years old, she lost the ability to walk, to speak clearly, to do most of the things that had come so naturally just hours before. The doctors called it a miracle that she was alive. Michael called it torture. The guilt consumed him. He'd been in a meeting that night, an important merger. He'd asked Catherine to pick up Emma from her grandmother's house because he couldn't leave. If he'd just gone himself, if he'd insisted Catherine wait, if he'd made a different choice. The what-ifs became his constant companions, whispered reminders of the life they'd lost. He threw himself into his work, 18-hour days, 20-hour days, anything to avoid going home to that big empty house where Emma's wheelchair sat in the corner and the silence screamed louder than any sound he'd ever heard. Emma was now 10 years old. She could understand everything around her, but her words came out slow and slurred. She could move her arms, but her legs remained paralyzed. Physical therapy helped, but progress was measured in inches. Michael hired the best caregivers money could buy, the best therapists, the best equipment. But he couldn't hire anyone to give Emma what she needed most, her father, the man he'd been before the accident, the man who wasn't afraid to feel. Michael's assistant, Janet, had been with him for 12 years. She watched him transform from a warm, engaged leader into someone who barely made eye contact. She'd tried everything to break through, gentle suggestions, direct confrontations. Nothing worked. Michael had decided that caring too much was dangerous, that love was a liability, that the only safe path was to stay numb. December 20th was supposed to be just another day. Michael had a meeting downtown and decided to walk instead of taking the car. The cold air felt appropriate somehow, sharp, unforgiving, real. He checked his phone as he walked, reviewing the quarterly projections that Janet had sent over. The numbers were strong. The company was thriving. By every measurable standard, he was winning. So why did he feel like he was drowning? He was 2 blocks from his destination when he heard it. Music. Not the usual street performer with a guitar or violin. This was different. It was coming from a small speaker, the kind you could buy at a discount store for $20, and someone was dancing. Michael looked up from his phone. The boy couldn't have been more than 10 years old. He wore a jacket that was too thin for the weather, jeans with holes in the knees that didn't look fashionable, just worn out. His sneakers were held together with duct tape, but none of that mattered when he moved. The kid was good, really good. He spun and jumped and moved to the rhythm with a skill that seemed impossible for someone his age. But it wasn't the dancing that stopped Michael in his tracks. It was his face, The boy was smiling, not the practiced smile of someone performing for tips. This was pure joy. His eyes were closed half the time, lost in the movement, in the moment, like nothing else in the world existed except the music and his body responding to it. Michael watched as dozens of people walked past without stopping, without looking, without seeing what he was seeing. This kid had nothing. You could tell just by looking at him. But in that moment, dancing on a cold sidewalk for an audience that didn't care, he had everything. Michael felt something crack inside his chest. It was small at first, just a hairline fracture in the armor he'd been building for 6 years. He stood there watching for almost 5 minutes. The boy's cardboard sign sat propped against the building behind him. The writing was in crayon, letters careful and crooked at the same time. "Dancing for my sister. She can't dance anymore. Every dollar helps us eat." Michael read it 3 times. The words blurred. He realized his hands were shaking. When the song ended, the boy opened his eyes and looked directly at him, not at his expensive suit or his Italian leather shoes. At him. At Michael. And the boy smiled. A real smile. Tired but genuine. "Thank you for watching, sir," the boy said. His voice was hoarse from the cold. "My name's Tommy. I'm trying to earn money for my sister. She's sick." Michael couldn't move, couldn't speak. Images of Emma flashed through his mind. Emma before the accident, spinning in circles in the living room. Emma now sitting in her wheelchair, watching videos on a tablet because it was easier than trying to engage with a father who'd checked out. Emma, who hadn't smiled in weeks, because the one person who was supposed to make her feel safe had become a stranger. "How old is your sister?" Michael heard himself ask. His voice sounded strange, like it belonged to someone else. Tommy's face brightened. "She's 8. Her name's Sarah. She got really sick last year. The medicine helped, but it damaged her nerves. She used to dance with me. We'd practice together every day after school. Now she can't move her legs. Doctors say maybe it'll get better, maybe it won't. But she loves watching me dance. Says it makes her feel like she's dancing too." The crack in Michael's chest widened. "Where are your parents?" Tommy's smile faded slightly. "Mom works 2 jobs. Dad left when Sarah got sick. Couldn't handle it, I guess. Mom does her best, but the medical bills are crazy. We lost our apartment 3 months ago. We're staying at a shelter now. It's okay though, at least we're together." The way he said it. At least we're together. Like that was enough, like having each other made everything else bearable. "I had a meeting," Michael said quietly. Tommy looked confused. "Sir?" Michael shook his head, pulling out his wallet. "I had a meeting the night my daughter got hurt. I chose work over being there. I've been choosing work ever since." He pulled out several bills, $500. He handed them to Tommy. The boy's eyes went wide. "Sir, I can't. This is too much." Michael closed Tommy's fingers around the money. "Buy your sister something that makes her happy. And Tommy, don't ever stop dancing for her. Don't ever let her think you've given up." Tommy looked at the money, then back at Michael. Tears were running down both their faces now. "Thank you," Tommy whispered. "Thank you so much." Michael didn't go to his meeting. He called Janet and told her to reschedule everything for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. He needed time. For the first time in 6 years, he needed to think about something other than quarterly earnings and market share. He sat in a coffee shop for 2 hours, hands wrapped around a cup that had gone cold, staring out the window. Tommy's words kept echoing in his mind. "She loves watching me dance. Says it makes her feel like she's dancing too." When was the last time he'd done something that made Emma feel alive? When was the last time he'd sat with her, really sat with her, and asked what she wanted, what she dreamed about? What made her happy? The answer made him sick. He couldn't remember. He went home early, something he hadn't done in years. The house was quiet when he arrived. Maria, Emma's caregiver, looked surprised to see him. "Mr. Harrison, is everything okay?" "Where's Emma?" Maria gestured toward the sunroom. "She's watching her tablet. She's been very quiet today. I tried to engage her, but she seems sad." Michael felt the weight of that settle on his shoulders. Of course she was sad. Her mother was dead. Her father was emotionally absent. She was trapped in a body that wouldn't cooperate, and a life that felt more like a prison than a home. He walked to the sunroom slowly. Emma was in her wheelchair by the window, tablet on her lap, earbuds in. She didn't hear him approach. Michael stood in the doorway watching her, really watching her for the first time in months. She'd grown. When had that happened? Her hair was longer, pulled back in a ponytail. She wasn't his little girl anymore. She was 10, almost 11, growing up without him. He took a breath and stepped forward, gently touching her shoulder. Emma startled, pulling out her earbuds. When she saw him, confusion crossed her face. "Dad?" Her words were slow, careful. The speech therapy was helping, but it still took effort. "You're home." The question broke him. Like his being home was strange, unexpected, something that required explanation. "I'm home, sweetheart," he said, kneeling beside her wheelchair so they were eye level. "I wanted to spend time with you." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. She'd learned to be cautious with hope. "Why?" Michael felt tears building. "Because I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. I've been a terrible father. I let my guilt and my fear turn me into someone your mom wouldn't recognize. Someone I don't recognize, and I've made you suffer for it. That ends now." Emma stared at him. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "I miss you, Daddy," she whispered. The words tore through every defense he had left. He gathered her into his arms, wheelchair and all, holding her like he'd held her when she was 4, like he should have been holding her every day since. "I miss you too, baby. I miss you too. And I'm here now. I promise. I'm here." They stayed like that for a long time, father and daughter, broken pieces trying to fit back together. Finally, Emma pulled back and looked at him with those green eyes that were so much like her mother's. "What made you come home?" she asked. Michael smiled through his tears. "I met a boy today, a boy who dances for his sister because she can't dance anymore, and he reminded me of something I'd forgotten. That love isn't about what we've lost. It's about what we do with what we still have." The next morning, Michael made a decision that shocked everyone, especially Janet. "I want you to find them," he told her. "Tommy and Sarah, the boy I told you about. Use whatever resources you need. Private investigators, social workers, I don't care, find them." Janet looked at him carefully. Something had changed in her boss, something fundamental. "What are you planning, Michael?" "I'm planning to help," he said simply, "and I need Emma to be part of it." It took 3 days. 3 days of searching through shelter registries and school records. 3 days of tracking down leads that went nowhere. But finally, Janet called him with an address. Brookside Family Shelter on the south side of the city. Tommy and Sarah Henderson. Mother's name Linda. He'd been right about everything. Michael sat Emma down that evening. "I want to introduce you to someone," he said. "Actually, 2 someones. A brother and sister who are going through something similar to what we went through. I think you might like to meet them." Emma looked uncertain. Why? It was her new favorite question. Why, after 6 years of distance, was her father suddenly present? Why now? Michael understood the hesitation. "Because I learned something important," he said. "I learned that we heal by helping others heal. And I think maybe you and this little girl, Sarah, might be able to help each other. Will you trust me?" Emma studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. "Okay, Daddy." They went to the shelter on a Saturday afternoon. Michael had called ahead, explaining who he was and why he wanted to visit. The director was skeptical at first, but after hearing the story, she agreed. Tommy and Sarah were in the common room when they arrived. Sarah was in a donated wheelchair, much older and more worn than Emma's. Tommy sat beside her, showing her something on a battered phone, both of them laughing. When Tommy looked up and saw Michael, his face went through several emotions at once. Surprise, recognition, confusion. "Sir," Michael smiled. "Hello, Tommy. I wanted to thank you properly for what you did for me the other day, and I wanted you to meet someone." He gestured to Emma. This is my daughter, Emma. Emma, this is Tommy and his sister, Sarah. Sarah looked at Emma with wide eyes. You have a wheelchair too? She said, her words coming out slow and careful, just like Emma's. Emma nodded. Car accident, she said. You? Sarah's face fell slightly. Sickness. The medicine helped but hurt my legs. The two girls looked at each other. Something passed between them, a recognition, an understanding that no adult could fully grasp. They knew what it was like to be trapped in bodies that wouldn't obey, to want to run and dance and be normal and have those wants mean nothing. Tommy was staring at Michael. Why are you here? Michael pulled up a chair. Because I want to help, and because I think maybe we can help each other. Over the next hour, Michael learned everything. Linda worked as a night nurse and a day waitress, sleeping 4 hours if she was lucky. The medical bills had destroyed them financially. They'd lost their apartment, their car, everything. The shelter was temporary, but they had nowhere to go after. Tommy danced on the street whenever he could, bringing home $20, maybe $30 on a good day. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. What if I told you I had an idea? Michael said. What if there was a way to help Sarah get better treatment, help your family get back on your feet, and give Emma someone who understands what she's going through? Tommy looked suspicious. Nobody helps people like us for free. Michael nodded. You're right, so let's not call it charity. Let's call it an investment. I invest in people I believe in. And I believe in you, Tommy. I believe in your sister. And I believe that sometimes we find the people we need when we least expect it. 3 months later, everything had changed. Michael had hired Linda as the head of HR for Harrison Technologies' new employee wellness program. The salary was more than her 2 jobs combined. He'd gotten Sarah into an experimental treatment program at New York Presbyterian Hospital. The early results were promising. She had some sensation returning to her legs. More importantly, Sarah and Emma had become inseparable. Michael had a ramp installed at their house, and Sarah visited 3 times a week. They'd watch movies, do art projects, and talk about everything and nothing. Emma smiled again. Really smiled. The kind of smile that reached her eyes. Tommy had enrolled in a performing arts school on full scholarship, arranged by Michael, but he still danced. Now he danced at Emma's birthday parties, at hospital fundraisers, at events Michael organized for families dealing with disabilities. His gift had found purpose, and he'd taught Emma something. He'd taught her that dancing wasn't about legs, it was about heart. One afternoon, Michael came home to find Emma in her wheelchair in the living room, music playing, arms moving in rhythm. She was dancing, from her chair, with her arms, with her whole spirit. Sarah was beside her, doing the same, and Tommy was with them, his movements mirroring theirs, all 3 of them connected by something beautiful. Michael stood in the doorway watching, tears streaming down his face. Janet found him there. You know, she said quietly, when you told me about the boy on the street, I wondered if you'd lost your mind. A CEO worth billions stopping to help a homeless kid? That's not how business works. Michael didn't look away from the 3 children. No, he agreed. It's not how business works, but it's how life works, or at least it's how it should work. The revelation came later that evening after Tommy and Sarah had gone home. Emma asked Michael to sit with her on the couch. She'd gotten stronger over the past months. Her speech was clearer. Her spirit was brighter. Daddy, she said, can I ask you something? Michael nodded. Anything, sweetheart. Are you happy now? The question was so simple, so direct, so perfectly Emma. Michael thought about it, really thought about it. 3 months ago, he would have said he didn't deserve happiness, that Catherine's death and Emma's injury were punishments he had to carry. But something had shifted. Tommy's simple act of dancing for his sister had shown Michael what love actually looks like. It doesn't look like guilt or avoidance or throwing money at problems. It looks like showing up, like being present, like choosing connection over protection. Yes, he said. I'm happy. Are you? Emma smiled, that beautiful smile he'd missed for so long. I'm happy too. I like having friends who understand. I like having you back. And Daddy, I think Mum would be proud of us." Michael's breath caught. "You think so?" Emma nodded seriously. "She always said that broken things could be fixed if you loved them enough. We were really broken, but we're getting fixed." 6 months after that December day on Fifth Avenue, Michael stood on a stage at the Plaza Hotel. The room was filled with business leaders, philanthropists, and press. He'd called this press conference to announce something new: the Harrison Foundation for Families in Transition, a non-profit dedicated to helping families dealing with disability and financial hardship. Linda Henderson was the executive director. Tommy would be their youth ambassador. But before Michael made the announcement, he did something unexpected. He invited Tommy onto the stage. The boy, now 11 and more confident but still humble, walked out to scattered applause. "6 months ago," Michael began, "this young man changed my life. I was walking down the street, consumed by grief and guilt, convinced that the only way to survive was to stop feeling, stop caring, stop being human. And then I saw Tommy dance. He was dancing for his sister, who couldn't dance anymore. Dancing on a cold sidewalk for strangers who wouldn't stop. Dancing because love meant more than pride, more than comfort, more than anything." Michael's voice broke slightly. "Tommy taught me that we don't heal by running from pain. We heal by running toward love, by showing up for the people who need us, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So today I'm announcing the Harrison Foundation, but more importantly, I'm announcing that I'm stepping back from daily operations at Harrison Technologies to focus on this work, to focus on my daughter, to focus on being the father and the person I should have been all along." The room erupted in applause. Tommy looked at Michael with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he mouthed. Michael shook his head. "No," he mouthed back. "Thank you." That evening, Michael and Emma had dinner at home. Just the two of them. Pizza and ice cream, Emma's favorites. They talked about everything: school, friends, the future. Things Michael had been too afraid to discuss for years. "Daddy," Emma said as they were finishing, "do you think things happen for a reason?" Michael considered this. "I think terrible things happen, and beautiful things happen. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we learn to see how they're connected. I think I needed to meet Tommy to remember how to be your father. And I think you needed to meet Sarah to remember that you're not alone." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "I'm glad you watched him dance." Michael smiled. "Me too, baby. Me too." As Emma headed to her room for bed, Michael looked out the window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, families were struggling, kids were suffering, people were doing their best with impossible circumstances. He couldn't help everyone, but he could help someone. And sometimes helping someone is how you save yourself. He thought about Tommy dancing on that sidewalk, about the choice the boy had made to turn his pain into purpose, about how one moment of genuine human connection had cracked open a heart that had been closed for years. He thought about Catherine and what she would say if she could see them now. He liked to think she'd be proud, that she'd understand he'd needed to get lost before he could find his way home. The question now wasn't about what had been lost, it was about what could still be built, what could still be saved, what could still matter. And the answer, Michael had learned, was everything. Everything could still matter if you chose to let it, if you chose to see the Tommies of the world instead of walking past, if you chose love over fear, if you chose to dance, in whatever way you could, for the people who needed you most. So let me ask you, because this story is only meaningful if you take something from it, when was the last time you stopped to really see someone, to acknowledge their struggle, to offer not just help, but connection? Tommy didn't just need money, he needed to be seen. Sarah and Emma didn't just need medical treatment, they needed friendship. Michael didn't just need to let go of guilt, he needed to let love back in. We all need that. We all need to be seen, to be acknowledged, to know that our pain matters and our presence makes a difference. What would you have done if you'd seen Tommy dancing that day? Would you have stopped, or would you have walked past like everyone else? And more importantly, who in your life needs you to stop walking past? Who needs you to show up, to be present, to care. Think about it. Because the truth is, we're all a little like Michael, hiding behind our walls, protecting ourselves from hurt by refusing to feel. And we're all a little like Tommy, doing our best with what we have, dancing through the pain because someone we love needs us to keep moving. The question is, which version of ourselves will we choose to be? If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own life and the people you love, let us know in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from and share one thing you're grateful for today. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it with them. Because sometimes the stories that change us are the stories we need to pass on. Subscribe so you don't miss our next story, because there are more stories out there, more Tommys, more Emmas, more moments that remind us what it means to be human. And we'll keep telling them as long as you keep listening. Until next time, remember this. Broken things can be fixed if you love them enough. And sometimes love looks like a boy dancing on a cold sidewalk for a sister who can't dance anymore. Sometimes love looks like stopping to watch